Okay, we are live and streaming, and it is totally happening. Yep, you are getting audio. That's great. Turn this down just a bit. There we go. I'll tell you this, folks. I had a heck of a time figuring out exactly the ins and outs of how to do a stream. This is still new tech to me. I know a lot of people do it. And unfortunately, I am stuck at a point in New Game Plus where I can't do like anything. I'm stuck in the underground and can't go anywhere in that, so I'm just going to go to the regular game, which I've already beaten, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have New Game Plus. Anyway, yeah, so I've actually done a few attempts at a stream, but I didn't have a stream key, and I didn't have the the browser open to YouTube. Okay, where am I? I remember now. Yeah, be quiet, Hugo. Okay, so anyway, I've actually done a few streams of this game by now, but I was trying to anyway. And it wouldn't work because I didn't have the stream key, so I don't know. I didn't bother ever really looking up how to do this stuff. And it's not an obvious thing, you know? You do your best when you're trying to figure this stuff out, but there's only so much you really know how to do without trial and error. Anyway, it is a lovely, dry, cool day in Cleveland. And, yeah, I don't know why the intense action music is there, because there are no goons around. And I've beaten this part so many times by now. Anyway, you can see that cape is in tatters. Anyway, I've only done one other stream, and that was of Arkham Knight. So this is obviously Arkham City. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do a stream of Arkham City is I explained in all the streams that never got anywhere that this game does not lag. And it seems to be a problem with Arkham Knight, that it just lags. Sorry, I have to keep clearing my throat. I've got asthma, and dry air doesn't help. Fall through the girders. Now, usually whenever I come out this door, there are usually some Joker thugs or something waiting around with a jammer. I don't know. Last time there were. Yep. They respawned. Anyway, so I like that the game doesn't lag. I know that's kind of a silly idea, isn't it? Oh, look, the game doesn't lag, so as a result, it's more fun. 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 As Anyway, now with that guy out of the way, I can take out these guys. And of course, it's a lot more fun to do it with the silent takedowns. And they give you that great theme that sounds like the Batman Begins theme. So, you know, it's just generally a lot more fun to play this game. I know I end up having more fun. Oh, it's so much more satisfying. Anyway, yeah, it's down at the old subway station in New Game Plus, and I remember I had a heck of a time beating that just in the regular game, and it's meant to be a challenge. And the only way I found that I was able to beat it was basically by going and playing through basically so many brawls on the Riddler's Revenge thing that I ended up basically getting more of a sense of how to do it, and just basically fighting so much that I finally ended up able to win. But it's still a huge pain in the butt. Okay, what do? I go over here. Anyway, yeah, there's no guys over here now. Because it's the end of the game. And they still let you roam around in whatever costumes you like. You know, you can look around and see, oh, there's a guy with a gun up there. And another guy. They're all way above me. And there's just a pile of goons. No, it didn't. You heard nothing. Nowhere. Gadgets. I don't know why I deployed that gadget the way I did. I'm not very good at video games, in all honesty. I know, shocker, right? Given what you just saw, but Anyway, it's a shame because in the playthroughs I was doing, I was actually doing really well, but I'd had a bit more practice. I haven't played much of this game this week. What I had been doing, for goodness sake, what I had been doing was playing through DC Universe Online. And that game, oh my god. First off, it doesn't seem to have an option for a gamepad, which is insane. I agree. Anyway, so one aspect to it is, aside from just the gamepad, is the fact that you only get so many solo missions, and then you have to do and then you have to do a lot of other stuff. Like, one example would be like, you get a lot of chapter missions where you like go and do stuff. Anyway, yeah, and then you get to like do some other missions, but it doesn't really go much of anywhere. Oh, for goodness sake, be quiet. Turn down that volume some more so I don't have to listen to these guys. Or I could just take off my headphones, since that's where all the noise is coming from, and I already have the volume down on the speakers for the desktop sounds. Anyway, yeah, so one aspect that I just like to point out with the DC Universe Online is it's fun to make up your own character, but an aspect to it that they don't really talk about is how much fun it is to kind of juxtapose what you would normally do. Like, okay, follow me on this. You've got various missions that you have to do, and it's best to not put all of your skills into like one or two attributes. Well, one aspect that I found that was a huge relief in the long run was I had a hero and a villain character, and I actually just uninstalled DC Universe Online yesterday because I was really tired of playing it. I wasn't really having as much fun. Your character can only go up to level 30 without a membership, and then after that you're basically just increasing your combat rating, and that's it. Now there's Arkham Asylum. Really blurry. And let's see. None of those islands over that way would be Gotham City in Arkham Knight. But anyway, so DCU Online, I found that it was a lot of fun just by getting away from the normal archetypes and not just recreating superheroes that you've seen before. Like, you know, if you wanted to have a magical one, you know, you might be tempted to say, make that one fly. Well, my magical hero was a speedster, and I decided that was a really cool concept. Like, and on top of that, the the magical ability was specifically mind powers. So, like, the ability to use fear, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, all that kind of stuff. It just, God, this is Batman's quest to have a quiet talk with himself. Anyway, yeah, so I ended up trying out a lot of different things in terms of abilities, and it worked. Hey, how's it going? Night night. Anyway, so yeah, I probably should have stuck around in the subway and just kind of swung around there, but it's more fun and interesting for you guys if I do it this way, I'm sure. Anyway, so my hero was, as I said, a speedster with mind powers, and that's an interesting concept. So it's like, okay, how is my hero gonna take down baddies with a, with like hand blasts or what? No, I chose, of all things, a staff, and I was really disappointed by that in just sort of what the programmers did, because they obviously did not respect staves or staffs, however you want to pronounce it. But I do. I like staffs. I think that staffs are a great weapon to use against different kinds of enemies. I like their flexibility when it comes to offense and defense. And yeah, of course, Jason Todd, or not Jason Todd, but Tim Drake, the third Robin, uses a staff, and I like that. And his reason for using a staff is exactly the reason why I like staffs. They don't have to be lethal. Anyway, so I was having a great time playing as that character, but then I quickly found that you hit a wall. And I don't like hitting walls. I find that obstacles like that just frustrate me. So, anyway, I challenged myself to do the best I could with basically a character who had a different set of skills. And frankly, for me, as someone with a disability, that makes perfect sense. I like playing as characters who are different and aren't your typical run-of-the-mill. So that character ended up being really cool. I had a lot of fun with that one. So once I did that, I played through like every mission that takes you up to level 30 and whatnot. Had a great time with it. There we go. The perils of being Batman. Maybe now I can get some quiet. Anyway, and another character, the villain that I decided to play was, I decided a flying assassin droid, like an android who basically had a female build and looked like she was flirting with you and whatnot. Although it wasn't a she, it was an it. And I was very specific about this when I was thinking about it. I was saying, no, in concept, I want this particular android to see itself as an it. Not a they, not a she, no gender. Just as an it with identity as a machine first, not as a not as a living being, not as really an entity outside of that. And um, it worked pretty well. It was interesting because I went with kind of an approach of uh, because it can fly. No, you didn't. Anyway, just taking out guys on rooftops right now. But yeah, so the flying assassin ended up being pretty good for most missions, some not so much. Largely because there were some enemies or good guys in its case that would be basically could drag you down to they could drag you down to the ground and you couldn't get away. Um, so that made it more challenging, obviously, but not in a bad way. Not in a way where you couldn't go from there and have a lot of fun taking on good guys and other bad guys as well, which is really one of the fun aspects to being a villain. You can take on all of both the good guys and the bad guys because you're a bad guy. You don't have any rules. So, it ends up being fun. I don't find villains necessarily more captivating. I just happen to think that playing a villain does offer a little bit of an interesting counterpoint, and it lets you choose different approaches. Like, are you going to be a lethal force? Like, I could have easily had that particular character use a gun like pistols or a rifle, but I didn't. I thought that it was way more fun to just pursue hand blasters, and eventually um, I had it so that it could use a drone to back it up, which worked pretty well. This rooftop is so agonizing because there are so many gunmen. And they cling together. No, I'm not. See, that's what I'm talking about. They're all on edge. And they all would just love to take down a Batman. Anyway, so I didn't find DC Universe Online as thrilling as I thought. Come over this way, it's fun. Dang it. I guess I had the chance for a ledge takedown for a second there. Anyway. Come on. There we go. Yeah, that's it. You scared me off for sure. I was so scared of the goons. They are both staying over there. Well, that's fine. You stay over there. You go night-night. There we go. Bit of a rough start, but once you take down a couple, it really lightens the load. There we go. Anyway, they always respawn, but whatever. Alright, so I ended up having a lot more fun doing it that way, as I was saying. And playing an assassin who can fly gives you always the high ground, which is a lot of fun that way. So, I highly recommend it as just an approach. Just to vary things up, do things as differently as you can. You'll end up having way more fun that way. Because, I'll be honest, I saw so many players who were obviously like members and such, and a lot of them were either overpowering things by just paying out the wazoo for like special costumes and abilities and things, and others were clearly trying to just imitate characters as closely as possible from like already established DC characters. Yeah, like see those guys respawn. So, that happens. Go too far away and some baddie will respawn at the same point where you just KO'd them. But that's alright. Because you're Batman. And you can take them out all night. Kicking and punching. Anyway. If I had it to do over again, if I was really going to bother with the game that much, which I'm not, like, it really falls flat of other games like Star Trek Online and whatnot. But if I were going to play it over again, like just choosing a side and, you know, playing as one thing or other, then I might very well like just choose some different abilities. Like, you know, I might choose a magician who maybe has to amble around on rooftops. So yeah, I actually forgot to come back here on New Year's Eve. I talked about it in my previous Let's Play or live stream, or whatever you want to call it. I don't call it a Let's Play because I am not really playing for any goals or whatever. Anyway, and I am playing the stream that I did earlier was of New Game Plus of Batman Arkham Knight because I had already played through it. I did not know how to stream back then. This was something where I learned I could do it through OBS Studio, which I originally downloaded as just a way of recording stuff. No, but they cut up my suit. Look at me. Yeah, okay. He's only got a couple things to say. And that's when he wants you to come back, is on Valentine's Day. I forgot to come back on New Year's Eve, as I was saying. Anyway, so yeah, if I had it to do over, I would have a lot more fun coming up with, you know, like maybe a bit more of an original character than I had in the past. Something with a bit more flair or uniqueness. But as it was, I had a bit of fun, like, figuring out, like, okay, my hero is telekinetics, so telekinesis gives you the ability to move things. What if the character is using... Ooh, I'll get my marshmallows. What if they're using their mind powers to move themselves faster than normal? What if that is where the speedster power comes in? You know, sort of like the Jedi running thing. Well, that would be kind of an interesting approach. What if there was a robot assassin that was perfectly content being an assassin? It was built and designed to be not necessarily the perfect assassin, but basically to be disposable, but also highly effective so that it wouldn't be easily dispatched. Well, that would work too. All of that would be an interesting approach to, you know, kind of having a hero or villain kind of character. Now, I didn't delete the characters. I just uninstalled the software from my computer because, first off, another major problem with that game is that it is so crash prone and so... It just sucks up hours of your time. Whether you beat a level or not, it takes hours. And it got to a point where I just wasn't having as much fun it didn't help that I was hitting walls, as I mentioned, for gameplay. That meant adding more and more time playing as this character and developing skills and whatnot. So I was just at a point where I was like, is this fun? Ish. But is it worth it right now? Let's go pop in at Tommy Elliott's place. I'm sure he's out right now. Good thing I remembered how to do that. Anyway, didn't realize there was a goon there, but glad I took him out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to go in. Alright, anyway. Yeah, so my point is, like, it's good to vary up your different designs. I might have a magic person who ambled around. I might have a, the android was actually considered a meta-human, a super-powered thing. But since it's a machine, I decided to give it gadget powers, which makes a lot of sense if it's an android, a robot made to look like a human. It might have super gadget powers that make it beyond like just a normal robot. So that made sense. And then give it hand blasters because the things are built into the android. It all works. It all makes a certain amount of sense from at least my perspective. And I was willing to develop it, in my mind as I was playing just because it was interesting to me. And I was like, well, following these rules, I could easily make a character anything I wanted. And, who is the identity thief? Well, anyway, bandaged up poor Teddy. Aww. So, I ended up having a lot of fun, as I mentioned. Bandaged up that Teddy, too. Aww. Poor ratty little Teddy. And this one. What? Oh. Cut off its hands. Oh my god. God, Tommy, you are one sick mofo. What is with you? Alright, anyway. So, this one, you just had it drinking bleach. God. Tommy, seek help. I'm telling you. Excuse me. Anyway. So I didn't have a lot of fun with that. Pain, huh? Okay. Can't just sit down on this overstuffed couch, can I? Nope. Can't even jump on it. Wow. Can't even jump on the couch. I'll just warm myself by the fire while I talk. Anyway, so I had an interesting time with that, but came to the conclusion that it wasn't as fun as Star Trek Online, because Star Trek Online you get to have way more characters and you have way more than just two factions. You can play as any number of different races from different periods of time. So, like, you can play, if this were in the DC Universe Online, you would be able to play as as a member of the old school Justice Society of America, and style yourself after that, but they don't let you do that. You might have more than one faction, and the JSA would be one of them. That would be actually a really interesting way to play it. You're not just a hero, but you're a hero from a different era, or that plays by a different set of rules. Maybe, instead of just being a hero or a villain, you could be a mercenary, where sometimes you take out bad guys, sometimes you take out good guys. You're not especially loved, but you're not especially hated. You're just in that moral gray area, the anti hero. And that's where you get characters like Slade Wilson and Catwoman and whatnot. That would be more interesting to me. By contrast, in Star Trek Online, you have the Federation, the Klingons, and the Romulans, and then also even the Dominion. And you don't have to necessarily worry about any of them being evil, even though the Dominion really is the Nazis from what they were writing about. Oh, that's where all that bell tower stuff is. You can't go in there now, but, it's interesting to know that's where it was at this whole time. When you were leaping around in there at the beginning of the game. Just looking around. Looky, looky, looky. Anyway. But I mean, they could have done that, but they didn't. They could have even had you be like part of the dark side regime on Apocalypse, which would have been fascinating because you're not just evil, but you're meta evil. You're not just superpowered. You have the backing of an evil and angry god who wants to take over the universe and destroy all life using the anti-life equation, and you are serving his ends. You are not your own hero or your own villain. You are totally subservient. So that to me would be fascinating, but they don't do that. Instead, they decided to structure it entirely around basically all of the fantasy role-playing elements from your standard fantasy role-playing game. I mean, every little aspect, right down to the weapons. And a lot of heroes don't necessarily use weapons. At one point, I actually played through, I think it was like the last real mission that they have you go on, and I had a random person decide that they wanted to play through it with me, which was fine, and he ended up being really great. But his character was Bruce Lee. I'm not even talking about like kind of looking like Bruce Lee. I mean, it was named Bruce Lee. It was styled after Bruce Lee. It had martial arts skills and carried a staff. It was Bruce Lee. That was what the player had decided to go for. And, I'm fine with that. If that's what you want to go for, fine. As long as you play well, and by play well, I mean play well with me. Yeah, there's the inside of the church there. And we're above the entryway. I never figured that much out about this. I always wondered what was going on with that. Anyway, we can't go up there because everything's all broken and burst into flames because of Joker. Anyway. One of the better parts about this game was about, for me, was after like playing part way through Arkham Asylum, I finally got a gamepad, which means that, yes, I was doing it with nothing but a keyboard and a mouse, and I ended up having to use a USB keyboard and mouse after a while because I actually I ended up messing up my mouse button on my laptop. So, no good at all. I love how detailed all of this is. You actually go and look up close. And yeah, some parts are a little bit blurry, but you still get an amazing amount of resolution considering. But yeah, no. So, uh, likewise, DC Universe Online had a lot of pretty cool graphics, but it would end up kind of lagging on me at points. I couldn't play it windowed like I can this one, since you can't use a gamepad. You have to play with a mouse and keyboard, which then means you can't play windowed, which means you can't stream it without like some kind of additional resource of some kind. I don't know exactly. I don't really do this. Um, but yeah, so it ended up being really frustrating. And you wound up with so many rip-offs and knockoffs of other heroes that I just found it frustrating. I'm like, why am I bothering when there are all these people who have ripped off of other superheroes that already exist, including Marvel ones? I saw an Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Captain America, um, and what was it? Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Captain America. Um, I know I saw several Batman style ones and Superman ones. Uh, oh, what was the other one? I don't know, but like I saw several that were like clearly Superman and Wonder Woman, and they even named themselves some variant on that. And it's like, oh, you're the bajillionth Wonder Woman or Superman knockoff. And it's like, well, let me be my own hero. Let me have my own style. And there were a lot of players like that as well, where we were trying to be original. And by original, really just come up with a new character, come up with a new set of powers to pair together, kind of like my speedster or my assassin droid, and just make it work. Do what you can with it. Figure it out. And it ended up, for those of us who are fans of the CW super soaps, that ended up being a very fun aspect. I had a great time doing that. Because you kind of imagine, like, okay, they're trying to make their life in the world, and they have superhuman abilities, and they're trying to, pay rent and find a place to stay, and, well, hopefully do that in the opposite order from what I said. But, they're trying to make their life work. They're trying to socialize and make friends. It's kind of a schlocky element to the story involving superheroes like Supergirl wondering about going on a date with a guy she likes or something. But that's also what is contained in a lot of comic books. Not even kidding. A lot of comic books contain interpersonal drama like that. And that's okay. You can have stories that are about people and characters in places. Excuse me. Coughing away from the microphone is always a lot more appreciated. Anyway. Yeah, isn't it fun? Like normally I do, if I have to cough, I do pause audio recording on Audacity just so that I don't have to cough into the mic or something like that. In recording some of my recent audio blogs, I was doing just that. Over here. There we go. That's a little better. Well, anyway. I ended up having a great time playing DC Universe Online, but then it hit the wall. And that's the paywall. The wall where no fun is had beyond this point. Let me see here. Can I use this? Yes, I can. I'm going to use that so I can get over here. We're going to poke in on Victor and Nora, who have their plot resolution in Arkham Knight. You're welcome, Victor. Anyway, get back out there. Where was I? Over this way. Yeah, so I find that stuff can be so much more fun if you just juxtapose. Figure out different super abilities all your own. Don't just go with what's already established. You end up having way more fun that way. Because you have to be more innovative, more creative. Like you could just have one of a million Batmen running around, not using a gun. Or you could have a Batman who uses a gun and try and have fun that way, but that just seems so antithetical. Now let's go poking on Zaz. After tracing his calls all over the place, I did beat him in New Game Plus. I actually went on all the side missions as much as possible, just so I could gear up Batman as much as possible. Emos. Well, not so much for fun. Have you considered knitting? Seriously, I knit. It is an incredibly rewarding hobby. I started with crochet and I got hooked. Oh! I tell that joke way more often than I should. Anyway, yeah, so what else? Star Trek Online has, like, this is me saying I really like DC. But I grew up with Star Trek, and I find that particular game just way more rewarding for me as a player. Like, I went around, and there are a million little Easter eggs to find, and of course, because it's an online, massive multiplayer online RPG, you end up with a million different little things that you have to collect. And of course, what do? For non-members, they limit your storage space of items. I think it's like 2 dozen is your limit. and they load you up with all this unnecessary detritus that you just, or detritus, however you want to pronounce it. So it ends up being so boring. By contrast, you have a similar issue in Star Trek Online, but you can sell a lot of it a lot easier. And look, there's more little teddy bears. Oh. And they're looking a lot nicer than the ones in Tommy Elliott's apartment. In fact, that teddy bear is the symbol of Crank Co. Toys. See? It's actually in high detail on that wall. Some faded paint. Anyway, I ended up having so much more fun in yep, nothing behind that wall. Didn't think so. Hey, pendejo, ¿qué pasa? I totally did. No thanks. For what? Yeah, whatever. You always say the same three things. You're like a wind-up Bugs Bunny toy. See, because Bugs Bunny is Warner Brothers and so is DC. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so what I found with Star Trek Online is that it's a way more enjoyable game. You can play lots of different factions. There are all kinds of missions. Yes, they rely on events as well, but nowhere near to the level that DCU Online does. I found that I was so frustrated with DC Universe Online that on several occasions I really did want to give up. What? Oh, corn's sakes. Go explore the old police station. Have a little fun here. As long as we're wandering around. But yeah, no, I actually created different characters in Star Trek Online, and they give you way more slots than just two. And I think that's part of the reason that I ended up having more fun, because I could play as different characters. Now, mind you, they still only give you the options of male or female, and that's even in the case of Rigelians. And the Rigelian species has 5 sexes. So, yeah, that's a problematic idea in the Star Trek universe. But as it is, you can still play it. You can still have fun with it. I ended up having a great time playing it overall. I haven't picked it up in a while, but you know, I'm going to, because I'm coming on the 1-year anniversary, and at 1 year they give you a captain's yacht for at least one of your characters. So I have some different characters. But some of the more fun aspects to both games is the level of customizability you get to. One weird thing I found was, like, once you get so much money, you can just buy all the different costume options, but it was weird. When I was in when I was in the Hall of Doom, I could just purchase the individual costume options as consumables. So once it was gone, I just had that option, and it cost less than if I were just to buy the costume. And you actually have to put on the costume, and then it's locked into your style menu. I know, isn't that fun? Instead of like just buying it as an option and then it's on your style menu. But as the hero, I looked all around the watchtower. I looked all around, the police stations. There was no such option anywhere around Gotham or Metropolis. And those are the only two cities you can go to. You can't go to like Coast City or National City, which is from Supergirl. Um, and you can't go to like Bloodhaven. Can't go to Central City, of course, home city of the Flash. You can't go to Star City. So, like, your options are really limited. You, at best, get, like, to go to those places when it's an event. Like, right now, they're doing an anti monitor one, and that lets you visit Central City, but it's only a small sector of it. And all it really is that they took buildings from Metropolis and put it on the Gotham landscape. That's it. How thrilling, how exciting. And given that my hero character is a speedster, you would think, oh, this is going to be great. Well, ish. I ended up having fun with it, but there's only so many ones you can play through, and then you reach a wall of, basically where you can't go any further. Because the boss that you're going up against is too tough. It was actually at a point where I had beaten Brother Eye, which is the final, villain that you have to beat in the Gotham sewers before you go. And you're inducted into the Justice League, which I thought you were already a member of, but what do I know? Anyway, you go through all this garbage. And I had beaten Brother Eye with that Bruce Lee guy. And he was really good. But he was not the only one playing well that night. I was doing a heck of a lot. My best to try and make that all happen. Because I had telekinetic powers that let me actually freeze bad guys in place. At least for a couple seconds. That's a good ability. Because that lets you have a reprieve from getting attacked for a couple seconds. And then you can, take down a couple. I had ranged attacks I was using. It was not just, a solo effort is my point. But I was playing with this other guy who looked like basically a Batman ripoff without the ability to glide like you see me doing here. And he was as bad as I was. Like, we were both getting our butts handed to us, and at one point it was like, okay, let's wait. Because we had to run all the way back through the dungeon that we'd already beaten everyone, so there were no respawning enemies. But so help me, I ended up just finally leaving. I was like, you know what? We are not beating Brother Eye on this. If you want to take him on with, someone else, I understand, but I am not putting myself through, yet another loss at this. It's just one of those things where it's like, you gotta know your limits and know when to quit and go home. I was just so fed up with it. It was so tiresome. Anyway, so I remember why I was going down here. It was because it was quiet. Anyway, so yeah, but I ended up having having a surprisingly good time playing it at first. But they only let you train with one hero based on your abilities. So if your ability is gadgets, and only gadgets, not like magical or meta human ability with gadgets, then you have to train with Batman. That's it. And they have tried to exploit this whole system just so that they can make as much money as possible in the game. And I'm like, okay, at what point am I supposed to have fun? When I've spent millions of dollars on this game? I don't think so. You have a free mode and you're like, oh, it's free to play. Well, is it really? Yeah, back where we started. Nothing down that way. Right. It's safe to descend. Alright. I don't remember what's over this way. Might as well go take a look. Just wander around. It's an old barber shop. Yep, that's what it says. Muftik Barber Shop. I think that's Muftik. Yeah. So I'm just like, you can have way more fun with Star Trek Online, and you also get the benefit of a ship, and that ship can also transwarp you to other places, and this is all in free mode. So I was like, well, why am I bothering with this when Star Trek Online is way more fun? There we go. Well, it's because I thought I would give it a try. I thought I would see if it was as good as Star Trek Online is. In terms of the customizability, you can really go for broke in terms of choosing your clothing colors and your hair colors and your skin colors. If you make yourself a totally different alien species, then you can have a lot of fun just designing the designing what your alien creature is going to look like. You still have to basically go with humanoid, but you don't have to deal with quite as much nonsense around it. There we go. Now, let me do this last time. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Take a look up at the view, the observation deck of Wonder Tower. But yeah, so I was like, well, it's not quite as fun. And I did a lot of stuff to try and, make my character look as interesting to me as possible. Different costume options. And there are some costumes that you can buy, but then not sell. You can't sell them and you can't trade them. You can buy them and that's it. They're yours. And they don't improve on any level. You can repair them, but after a while they're not as good as some of the stuff you acquire. So you end up getting better and more varied styles of armor and weapons and things just through dropped loot. So at that point, why the heck would you bother? Thank you very much. You know, why the heck would you bother with any of the other garbage? Yeah. Thought there was a Riddler trophy thing about that. Guess not on this level. You can rescan in old Riddler trophies. Like there. Just looking at the etching there. Pretty cool. And it is actually an etching. There was a pastime a lot of people did back then of doing a rubbing of an etching like that. They would take big sheets of paper and do a rubbing of that, and it would help them preserve the memory. And there are a lot of people who do that for tombstones and everything. It ends up being pretty cool and fascinating. Love the view. I am terrified of heights, by the way, so yeah. Oh, there's the police station. Over there is Joker's Funhouse. Oh, there's some helicopter pads, some police cars, Tiger SWAT vans. Let's see. Trying to find that old subway station that, you know, Penguin has all that crap in. And that Penguin was using as a staging area. They don't really show it, but there's a big dome with cracked glass in it, and it would be somewhere down here. Let's see, there's the Base of Wonder Tower. So yeah, when you look up through the glass, you can kind of see that it's somewhere inside the prison walls. Well, inside the guardhouse walls, I should say. But it's not showing up. So... There's the museum, and the subway station's right in front of that. So if it were going to be anywhere, it would probably be somewhere right about there. Because I don't think it would... since the glass is cracked, it wouldn't survive underwater, but through the glass you can see these towers and all this other stuff here. And unfortunately, you cannot descend down in there. Batman just glides right back up. But that would be a whole other adventure that would be really fascinating to play. Going inside and taking down the tiger guards that are remaining in the thing. There we go. Looking around. So yeah, since I was comparing and contrasting that particular uh, game with other games. Oh yeah, you can kind of see as you're descending. Down, down, down to a burning ring of fire. Geez, squeaking and screeching and squelking. There is nobody down here. Would you calm down? I don't think we can go down into the old parts of Wonder City, can we? Probably. Door might be locked. Nope. Just look around the dead city here. Yep. Dead end. How appropriate. Anywho, yeah, since I was directly comparing and contrasting the two, I found it to be a decent comparison. Just, if you're going to have two different MMORPGs, both with a theme of different popular media, you might as well compare the two in terms of how they handle it. And I found that DC Universe Online was really disappointing. Batman would not approve. But, was it fun? Well, there were certain parts where I was having fun and certain parts where I definitely was not. The question kind of comes, who is the game for? And I was asking myself that as I was playing. I said, is this game for someone like me, who's a fan of the DC Universe? Well, yeah, to a fault. Is this game for kids? Definitely not. It involves so much violence, aggression, in many cases, murder. So you're not going to want your kids playing through that. Maybe you might allow teenagers, but that's about it. Otherwise, you really want, oh. Ah. Whole other part of Wonder City. Look, they've got ice cream candy. Oh, stop it with the intense music. It's not that exciting. Yeah, yeah. Intense walking scene. So intense. Oh, can't go through that door. So this is as far as you can go, apparently. I actually had a dream after I was done playing the Arkham City and everything, where I actually thought up a full and pretty clever backstory for Solomon Grundy, and I might actually bother writing it into a short story someday for you know submission to DC or something like that as a treatment, and maybe they'll pay me. But anyway, it I'm gonna keep a lot of the details under wraps for now. Anyway, I had basically just so much more fun playing Star Trek because there were so many different ways you could play it. You not only had to outfit you yourself as a person, but you had your crew that you had to outfit. You had lots of different missions. I don't want to listen to the narration any further. Enough, D. Bradley Baker. More intense music. Even though there's nothing intense going on, it's just Batman walking around the decaying parts of the city. Okay, that's subsided now. Anyway. Yeah, so it was disappointing because I've been playing Star Trek Online for about a year now, and even in the free mode, you have a lot of different ways to play with different characters. You can play as a Klingon, and you can totally go in different directions from the Federation, but you have very comparable mission assignments, but everything is structured just that little bit differently. And then likewise, you can play as Romulan Republic, which I think is fascinating because that's a totally new that's a totally new faction. So you end up having more fun with it, I find. And look, the Joker goons with the jammer have respawned. How exciting. Isn't that lovely? Just go up here, finally pick these guys off again. Ah, there's the other guy. Hey, how's it going? I'm Batman. Night night. Oh, that's gonna hurt. Yeah. That's more of a ouchy night night than I normally like to give. But anyway, you see what I was talking about. You can kind of just see the interior walls of the guard area. Stop it with the intense music. Nothing's happening. I've taken all the guys down. See? That's it. No more guys. Alright, anyway. Yeah. So, I ended up clearing a lot of games that I just don't play that I added to my Steam library where they were free and they sounded interesting. But I ended up either unable to really play them very well or not able to play them at all. In the case of Chex Quest, that was a big disappointment because they spent years developing that game to be a new HD free version, only for like nothing. So frustrating. Anyway, it gets to be kind of fun when you're actually comparing MMORPGs, but I don't find them to be quite as rewarding as games like this where you have like a single-minded quest and you're actually having a bit more fun thinking through different ways. The MMORPG has one thing going for it, and that is the versatility of how you design your character. And DC Universe Online actually fails in that regard because even if you come up with your own character, it doesn't look that unique. The female characters especially are basically all the same. I'm not even kidding. Like, I had different I looked through the different body types and they were basically roughly all the same. Meanwhile, the male physique was pretty much the exact opposite. It was very diverse. You could have a big, strong, muscly guy, but not a big, strong, muscly woman. And big, strong, muscly women do exist. They're not just in the realm of fantasy and fable. Anyway, so I thought that was disappointing at best. But, you know, they're going to design the game and run the game the way they want. The company Daybreak is going to do whatever they feel with their game that they're developing for DC. And if you don't like it, don't play it. That's usually the philosophy because, oh, we've got enough players right now. We don't have to worry about whether or not you like it. There are lots of gunmen when you come out that way, so you always gotta keep an eye peeled. Well, they're not always ringing because I took care of Zaz. He's no longer crank calling anybody from inside his cage. One of the things I did for myself was I actually bothered to explore all around the edge of little island here for Arkham City. looking every little place, because as it was, I was looking partly for solving Riddler trophies, because you get XPs for that. And then as you're doing that, you can get more bat gadgets or upgrade your bat gadgets. You do yourself a very solid favor when you do that. No, I didn't want to go up over there. I wanted to go down here. Look around in here. See? There's a mattress. Back when it was warmer, guys were actually settling in and having a decent life for themselves in this horrible, festering, rotting city. This part of town that was basically abandoned. And it comes to a greater point that I wanted to talk about, that Gotham City has a tendency in its portrayals to just sort of build on top of whatever was and not necessarily, like actually take care of the problem. Like, sometimes you hear about things being demolished, but usually those guys are looking to gentrify the area and not actually keep it livable for regular people. And you see a lot of this in other parts of the world, especially the United States right now. But that tendency to not really want to sort of clean up your mess or take care of your problems is really part of the reason why Gotham City doesn't work. Because you end up with this older part of town, these slums, that's where everyone was living, who, couldn't afford to live in the high rises and the big mansions. And then who's left to clean up the mess when those people don't have the opportunities and get discriminated against by zip code discrimination and whatnot? There's a social justice issue in the whole matter that really is worth looking at when you get down to it. What exactly is it about Gotham City that is so bad? Well, they don't care about each other. They've kind of given up and said, oh, well, that lot. They just are born bad. They're thieves and all that other garbage. It ends up being, a good case study if you ever wanted to explore that, if it hasn't already been explored, of course, which it probably has. College students love to do that kind of thing because it's fun and it applies what you're learning in courses like sociology and whatnot for fun. I once did an entire paper just on the intercultural communications issues in the Harry Potter series because it was fun. The paper ended up so-so, but the presentation I did, I got a really good grade on because it was something that I was really excited about. Like I said, the paper was only so-so. But beyond all that, you don't really get to explore any of that in the DC Universe Online game. You just have to kind of play through and you beat up baddies. Hugo Strange, you desecrated the location of my parents' murder. That's why you're dead. Because you suck. Yeah, and you end up running around all this whole city, which is otherwise pristine. like, you have maybe the occasional thug. And the only reason I can think why Gotham is at all bad in DCUO is purely because it has only 2 police stations, whereas Metropolis has a whopping 3. And it's like, wow, what a difference that additional police station makes, isn't it? Whereas here, you go and there's basically a police station per every island in the Batman Arkham games. Not so much in Arkham Knight. In Arkham Knight, you have basically 1 police station for 3 islands, and it's like, okay, that's why. And it's actually on the island with the police station where you have the most crime. Like, you have criminals on all of the islands when you're playing, but that one with the police station still has crime. Night, night. Turn around, bright eyes. I'm gonna put you right to sleep. But, Arkham Knight lags, and Arkham City doesn't, so it ends up being a lot more fun. And honestly, they don't consider it, but lag really is a big issue. One issue I definitely had with Arkham Knight was the fact that when you're doing the chase scenes, it absolutely slows everything down. And yeah. Yeah, I'm actually pretty good at the melee combat. When it's just like that. But when it's like a brawl with a bunch of guys, I'm not very good. And I've been through the museum a few times and taken care of the goons. But yeah, no, so my thought is like, they're okay with keeping a lot of the old stuff, but they don't bother putting in a lot of the infrastructure for jobs. So it's like a person could go to the museum, but they don't have money. They, could go get on one of the transit systems, but you have to have, unless it's free to ride, you're not getting anywhere. So, there are limitations where you still have to have money, and there are people who are absolutely unwilling to relinquish capitalism's control over their system. And this is not me saying that we should go to like communism or anything, but one of the things about Batman is he does encourage social reform programs that help a lot of people get into a better quality of life. And it does help. More importantly, he increases access and funding to those. So, it isn't just some feel-good program that, gives him a tax write-off, but it actually does do as much good as possible. And they show this even in The Dark Knight Rises, that he goes funding youth clubs and orphanages so that no kid has to grow up without someone taking care of them. So the Wayne Foundation does the good work that Bruce wants it to. Just an arm lying there. Dino skeleton just laying around. Looks like feet. I never actually bothered to just stop and look around. It's like, we live in such a nice and interesting city. Let's just stop and look around, huh? Rib cages and skeletons. Oh, I don't remember ever actually blowing that wall out. But I guess I must have, because the game remembers it. Anyway. Yeah, so it ends up being a bit of a challenge when you're actually looking at some of the world of Batman. But then by the time you actually get to, like, any of the stuff in DCU Online, I just wasn't really having as much fun with it. And a lot of that was because of the lack of a gamepad more than anything. They could have absolutely set it up just to use like your standard game controller for something like, if you were playing it on the PS3 or something. It doesn't require that much coding compared to all the other coding they have to do. And just make it so much easier to control your hero or villain. And they could have written in so many factions beyond just heroes and villains. And it's like, well, wait. You've got the forces of Apocalypse. You've got, the forces of Atlantis or Themyscira. Why on earth wouldn't you have those as options? Yes, they would only use certain abilities, but wow, that was not letting me control that in any way. I don't think. So weird. Let me see here. You know, the programmers for this game at Rocksteady actually bothered to put in all this cool stuff. So it's worth stopping and appreciating all the little details, like those penguins on that iceberg. They didn't have to put that in. They didn't have to put in like a little treasure chest or, you know, some of this other stuff. They really went the extra mile. Yeah, it's like some areas where they just like stuck in a little Riddler trophy area like there. But, you know, you compare that with DCUO and it's nowhere near as detailed in all of the little fun ways. Like, look at this. Wildlife of the jungle. The region is home to about 2.5 million insect species, tens of thousands of plants, and some 2,000 birds and mammals. To date, at least 40,000 plant species, 3,000 fish, looks like 1,200 birds, maybe 1,236 birds. Yeah, it's individual numbers. 427 mammals, 428 amphibians, and 375 reptiles have been scientifically classified in the region. 1 in 5 of all the birds in the world live in the rainforests of the Amazon. Scientists have described between 96,000 and 125,843 invertebrate species in Brazil alone. And they give you just all these details. Like some of the cases, they'll just have these generic butterflies. Those butterflies are everywhere. But they actually bother the list, like scarlet macaw, aka Aramacau, jaguar, Panthera onca, Goliath bird-eater spider, Theraphosa blondi, vine snake, Clearonius corinatus, Atlas beetle, Chalcosoma atlas. You know, they actually bother to put that in, and it's so much more fascinating than half the crap that I picked up going all around Gotham and Metropolis in this supposed universe, this online universe that was featuring all your favorite various DC heroes. There's nothing. You know, if I'm playing a game that has no updates, it is never updating again. And it has more details than your game that is constantly updated for one reason or another, and has been getting played since like roughly the time Arkham City came out. Not even kidding. I don't think it opens. Yeah, no. The cops are locked inside the Iceberg Lounge. In order to get into the Iceberg Lounge, you have to get through a gang of goons from the other side of the Iceberg Lounge, outside. Anyway, so it's like if your game is less detailed than Arkham City, then you have a problem. And I know massive online multiplayer games can't necessarily be as detailed, but they could bother to put in something a little bit better than, like just a generic question mark or exclamation point floating in things. They could bother to come up with way more missions and, they call them something else in the game, but they're dungeons. You're crawling through a dungeon, you're taking out baddies, whether you're in a group of 1, 2, 4, 8, it doesn't matter. It's the same concept as Dungeons and Dragons or World of Warcraft or any of those other games. That was close. There were guys right in front of there, and I was gunning right up there, and they like shooting Batman, just like me. Alfred, I need a change of bat underpants. Sir, I'm afraid I can't deliver them there. You'll be in a padded cell forever. Yeah, I don't know. I just like making fun of the Bale voice, but obviously I can't do it very much. Anyway, yeah, all the little Easter eggs in this game, they took time to develop, and you could easily take the time to gradually fill up your DC Universe Online stuff with all that. You have multiple islands in both games where you could just have all that, but they don't bother because they're too busy having everything be events and everyone get into a big scramble and melee combat and use your superpowers and pay to be a member, and we've got to have a special event that'll bring people playing. Literally the first time that I played, as soon as an event was announced, that was when I suddenly had to wait to log in. Every other time I did not. Every other time that I went to log in, it did not give me that hassle. Only time. So obviously DCUO is only functioning basically for the people who wanted to play but didn't really want to keep their membership going. Or they kept their membership going. But at that point, they're basically paying to have fun. And to me, paying in order to have fun is gambling, and I don't approve of gambling. Yeah, we're back to the courthouse. I mean, that's really the downside of when you're doing free roaming. It's like fun if you want to test out different costumes or whatnot, but you know, at a certain point, you're just playing through levels against basic goons, either Two-Face goons, Joker goons, Penguin goons, that kind of thing. Nothing super terribly exciting. Anywho, I'm just kind of looking around at this point. But I don't know. You look around the other games and there's nowhere near the detail, and you can't go into quite as many buildings, I think, as you can in Arkham Knight. I could be wrong about that, but it ended up getting so taken over, and a lot of people noted this when it first came out, that it got so taken over by the Batmobile instead of having that be its own game or be like a separate element to the game. They just made it so integral. And even a very consummate gamer that I follow on YouTube, Nightwing01, in one Let's Play that I was rewatching earlier today, he noted that the Bat Tank is incredibly difficult to control, and part of that is simply because, like on the controller I'm using, which is a basic Logitech PC USB controller, and it's really good. Don't get me wrong, it is way better than the generic one that I got, which was actually more expensive. But it was a gift, the other one. This one I ended up getting myself. But you have on this one, you have to hold down one of the trigger buttons, specifically the one I'm doing right now, the left T, and which I don't know why it's left T. I guess because you look at it upside down and it's the top button, but that doesn't really make sense to me. Anyway, so it's the left bottom trigger from the perspective of the person playing. And you have to hold that down while you're in tank mode. And it is so... I got a hand cramp from it. Right now I'm stuck in New Game Plus in Batman Arkham Knight because I can't, keep my hand in that cramped trigger, holding position. Maybe if I were to, press that front part against something and then control it, but, it's just, yeah. At that point, it's like, well, why am I bothering to play New Game Plus at all if it's too challenging, where you can't beat it. As it is, I finally, after playing so many times and just absolutely pummeling myself in the basic mode, I finally was able to beat the Azrael combat missions, which other players have noted were some of the harder ones, where you cannot take a single hit or you fail the challenge. And all it takes is one little jab with a sword, and you automatically lose the challenge. And that's it. And it only takes like a fraction of a second. It's like, wow. Aren't games fun, people? Yeah. And I'll give DCU, that. They don't do that. They don't put you through that much nonsense. But there is a very steep incline once you're up to level 30. And really, once you're up to level 30 and your combat rating keeps going up, you're going up in levels, but they won't let you have that. So there's probably like 1 million level 30 players who just, kept playing for whatever reason. And your combat rating goes up, but your level doesn't, which is just frustrating. Why would you structure a game like that? Like, given Star Trek Online, you have different ranks, and I have like a couple of characters who are like admirals, and that's on the free thing, but at the same time, they can't do everything that, you know, they're like vice admirals, but they can't do everything in the game because some things require a paid membership and acquisition of certain crap. So, like, certain ships aren't available to you either. So it's like, who's having fun with this? People who are paying. And as I said, that just, if you're paying money to have fun, you're gambling, and I don't believe in gambling. Yeah. But this world, still more detailed than DCUO, and I will not shut up about it. This is a game that took probably less time to download. And yeah, it might not be quite as expansive as DCUO is, but, they're recycling a lot of textures in this. The figures are more detailed and different looking. There's just a lot more to this world. They bother to have stacks of bookshelves, different pieces of furniture, all this stuff. Oh, and by the way, in your hideout or your base or whatever it is in DCUO, you can't actually use the furniture. Oh, you can get up on the bed and you can jump up and down on it, but you can't actually, like, sit in a chair. They couldn't be bothered to code that. So you can decorate it with all the crap that you get over however long a time of play, and it just goes all into some kind of loose, anti-space. It goes into the phantom zone for you to play around with, but once you, unless you want to sell it or something, you really don't have anything. It just, yeah. It gets to a point where there was a reason why I got fed up with it and decided to uninstall it, just because I really wasn't having fun with it. And every time that you open it up, it has to load all the files. When I load up Batman Arkham City, does it have to open files? No. It does not. It has to load up so many files, and then I can play inside of like a minute or two at most. I can stream crap while I do this. I can stream a recording to YouTube of this. I can stream it to Twitch. Heck, I was able to leave this game running in the background on the load screen and update OBS, no problem. Do you think I could do that with DC Universe Online? I don't think so. It takes up so much bandwidth, and I ended up often having my heatsink running so hard just in order to run that game. And it's not a new game. They could have streamlined the code by now. They're too busy programming events. Well, I'm sure that's fun for the people who are paying to play. Excuse me. Like, they could even have it be ad-driven, where they put up ads around the city. You can't tell me that there's no room for it, because there are ad spaces in the city. I'm looking around at all these posters, and it's like, yeah, they've got things for advertising in here, but they don't need to because you paid for the game. I took advantage of the sale that they had this last summer, where you were able to get the entire Batman Arkham games aside from Origins for God, it was $15, I think. It was ridiculously cheap considering that each of them individually was originally $20. I think I maybe spent $18 total on all of them. And the only one I didn't get was Origins, which a lot of people didn't like anyway. But I even got Arkham Knight, which, for its problems was so-so. It had a lot of good points to it. It had way more expansive gameplay. Now, let me see. I think the last time I took on the guys over here, there were just 3 of them. Let me see. Nope, 4. I misremembered. That's what they should call me. They should call me Misremember. Except I'm non-binary, so they can call me Mix Remember, but that's not as funny. Anyway. There we go. I swear, every time I had to take down guys to get into this room, get into the Iceberg Lounge at first, it was so frustrating because there would be more guys and I was not as good at fighting, but I didn't have any trigger warnings there for Spidey sense or bat sense, whatever you want to call it, where you get the little lightning bolts that warn you this guy's about to hit you, so you better counter. But see, they put in this beautiful Art Deco styling on the table. They bother to fashion Art Deco chairs and art, and I do mean what I say when I say Art Deco, because there's Art Deco and Art Nouveau, and they are different things. I actually like both. Excuse me. I actually like both, but Art Deco, just they chose a font for everything based on the stuff built in Paris around the turn of the century, so it gives you a time. It's around the same time as Le Métropolitain, or Le Met, in Paris, and it just feels like you're taking a step back in time into this fantastically beautiful and decadent world, like Gotham has just always been this way. And I'm just looking at all these beautiful, bits of art that they did on the walls. They didn't have to do this. They could have just done plain walls. But instead they did different designs. Not all of them different. But, they did a little portrait of how the Penguin sees himself if he were, taller and a bit more strapping. So, go Oswald. But, as it is, he's kind of a short, stumpy, dumpy little guy. Pudgy and everything. So, he has a different look to himself in this game. Very gritty. Not the ideal sense of self. But, they put the iceberg in the background as kind of a romantic image and everything. I find that fascinating. They actually went for it. They went for broke on this and really designed a beautiful world for, everything to inhabit. Even though everything is run down and dingy and dirty, it's this other world. You have wrought iron and glass. Just amazing. I actually used to study architecture, so that's one reason why I'm geeking out over this stuff. I'm looking at this. I'm interested in it. It is gorgeous. You can tell when this was about. That this was between basically late 1800s and early 1900s. Just gorgeous. Oh my god. All the floral designs, all of them, just amazing. And yeah, they've got all the industrial stuff, but you just look at all of that. They bothered to give it a shine so that, as you move, the light source changes the way that the light reflects. That's not something you see in DCUO. That's what I'm kind of on about with all this. You're going around Gotham, and it might as well be just Central City or whatever. Because there's really almost no difference. The architecture, a little bit dated, that's it. Metropolis, it's a bit newer. They have slightly different mass transit systems and a freeway system that runs through the city, whereas Gotham has an elevated rail line. That's it. You're otherwise looking at the same towns, and there's a slightly different look and feel to the roadways. Yeah, guys, I cleared out all of the baddies from inside the rest of the museum. You're okay. You're safe. Turn up the volume a bit here. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can actually hear what they're saying. It's coming in on my headphones, and I have the desktop noise, going through all of that. So, hopefully you hear all that. I don't know. If you do have constructive feedback on how I'm streaming, then please go ahead and leave a constructive and respectful comment below. I am more than happy to take that. Just make it constructive, respectful, that kind of thing. Basically the same kind of comment you would want to get if you were new to streaming. And this is something I haven't done before. So that's me. That's what I'm like. I know that Spoonie, for a while there, he was doing a lot of streams, and just as a way of being able to load content and comment on the gameplay and whatnot, with the idea that he would eventually maybe record a review, but that didn't seem to come to fruition. And yes, remembering how to dive bomb and glide properly with the controls different from Batman Arkham Knight really is a challenge. Especially compared to, like, Arkham City. I did pick up those phones. It was Zaz. He says hi. Yeah, don't you hate when that happens? Love just going around this town. I know some people, they just absolutely love just going around, flying over the city, looking at everything. Got the old school bat signal with a pigeon on it. Get lost. I didn't know I could do that. You never know you can do something until you really try. But they gave it that level of interactivity, folks. It's such a different game. It's like literally night and day. But like, if you had all that much detail going out over servers to, you know, a million different players, it would take up a lot of bandwidth. I will concede that much. But this is not a new game, and you already spend so much time downloading every blasted thing from the, you know, just to play the game already. Gliding, gliding, I believe I can fly. I got touched by the ice cream guy. That's wrong and dirty, and I'm sorry for that one. But yeah, no. So it's something where I genuinely feel pretty strongly about it. Like, they didn't have to build in anything with the Batmobile or any other crap like that, but they could have and should have done more for DCUO to just kind of develop it as a game, make it a bit more fun for people like me to play, certainly. Because I got to a point where I just was not having fun with it. I still can have fun with this. I can replay. I can play the expansion crap. There's a whole other area over there. Okay. Got fireworks. They didn't have to stick fireworks over there. They didn't have to stick all these lights around in areas that you are never going to see. They didn't have to stick up a sign that says hell. You know, just to do that little bit of extra, you know, bit of darkness or grittiness, whatever you want to look at it as. I remember when I navigated this area, it was so tricky. I had no idea what I was doing. And I don't think I ever died in this area, maybe once, but it's just, you can go through these areas and explore, and it just ends up feeling like there's so much more of a world here with all the little details. And Arkham Knight lives up to that, but my point in talking about this is DCUO. One of the problems with Arkham Knight, with regard to the Batmobile stuff, and this is something that a lot of people will not like to hear, is Zack Snyder. Okay, like I said, be constructive and respectful. I appreciate that Zack Snyder has had a lot of really good work and a lot of success. And I appreciate that he makes really popular movies. That is fine. I don't have a problem with any of that. Who would? Where I draw the line is I don't think he is everything, the end-all be-all of the DC universe. There we go. I wasn't pushing it far enough. And as we learned in the 90s, you gotta push it real good. Anyway, I'm just gonna look around Joker's place here. But the reason why I fault Zack Snyder is because right in the middle of gameplay, as you're going through chasing after one baddie or another, if you go and destroy some of the Arkham Knight militia vehicles, you end up suddenly having the gameplay slowed down on you, like you needed that much help. And before you know it, you wind up with a whole other deal, because suddenly everything slows down, and meanwhile you have to suddenly adjust when it flashes back to normal speed. And Zack Snyder is really bad about slowing down the footage and then speeding it up, or having it suddenly resume normal pace. Explode. I didn't know I could do that. I hit the wrong trigger button and it followed the battering. Oh yeah, because that's like if you want to throw a reverse battering. Yep, one more. When I'm doing Predator missions, I do that kind of crap all the time. It's a great way to strike fear into the heart of your enemies. Of course, then you gotta run because they figure out where the batarang came from somehow. Anyway. Yeah, I don't actually have a problem with Zack Snyder. I just don't like his movies. I don't like his storytelling. But I don't necessarily think that he's a bad guy until you get to talking about Ayn Rand. Because Zack Snyder is, in his own words apparently, an objectivist. And I've read Atlas Shrugged. I've watched The Fountainhead. I don't consider them good. I've read through all of Ayn Rand's philosophies, and one of the problems I find with Zack Snyder in all, like when you just talk about the Superman films they did, and you can like them. You are more than allowed to like them. I will not hate you. I will not think that you're dumb. There's always something to appreciate about something, and there's a saying that some movie, whatever movie it is, whatever movie you're watching, and if you're dumping on it, that is someone's first film. Quite possibly. So try and respect it. Okay. Fair enough. And I was a huge fan of the Christopher Reeve Superman, as a lot of people were, especially kids my age growing up. But he broke a very important cardinal rule of Superman, which is he went with the Christ imagery. Okay, Superman is not Jesus. And he wasn't the only one to go with the Christ imagery. I know this. Yeah, something else. Something baddie. Yeah, I got him locked up. You want to see him? He's really fun to laugh at. You can make fun of him and he can't do anything. Yeah, tell me about it. Have you been down in those sewers? It has not been cleaned in a while. Let's go back in the police station. I'll just kind of look out at the view. Anyway, I know that Bryan Singer also did the Christ imagery in Superman Returns, and I abided it because the story was about so much more. Description. Some things they skimped on. Details on wanted posters. That's okay. Yeah, no. So I while I'm allowed to not like Zack Snyder, I don't discourage people from liking him altogether. I got a whole bunch of Twitter hate for this. And you know what? I didn't rise to the occasion and respond in kind. And that's really what any Zack Snyder fans really ought to do. Because chances are, he doesn't really care what you think of him. Just like he doesn't really care what I think of him. You know, he's going to do what he's going to do. That's okay. You know, I will watch his version of Justice League that he gets final say on because I bothered to watch the Dick Donner version of, the Christopher Reeve Superman 2. And I loved it. I loved what Dick Donner did. I thought it was the better interpretation of the story. So, as a result, I had more fun. Okay, wait. The safe is there. And the wall got blown out. Okay, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Is there another spot where the wall safe was? No. Yeah, and they just preserved everything from my big battle with Mr. Freeze. Which you can tell how that went. By all the stuff that got iced up. Windows and grates and vantage points, everything. And this door is all iced up because he wanted to barricade the penguin's goons out. Anyway. So yeah, like I said, nothing against the guy. I was totally on board with Dick Donner's version of Superman 2 once I found a copy. I loved it. I thought it was a great version of the story, way better than what I had been watching for years, and I liked the theatrical version that they made without him, but I like the Dick Donner version better. Personal preference. We are allowed as consumers to disagree, just like you might eat bacon on a cheeseburger and I really can't. I can do turkey bacon, but actual pork bacon tends to make me feel physically ill. Personal preference. It's allowed. Some people get down on me when I bring that up, but it is something that I have to remind people of. Your pleasure out of something will vary based on your preferences. Just gonna go take a look out the water. Better view of Arkham City, or Arkham Asylum rather. Still taken over by Ivy's plants. You can see a cop truck located out that way. Darn, I almost froze a crow. I've just tried so many different things, just going around the edge of the map. Because that's how you get yourself a lot of little Riddler trophies. Or a little credit from the Riddler. Nothing for Leslie Tompkins? No, but they still put in a little sign for Leslie Tompkins Medical Clinic. The most you get otherwise is, oh crap, I'm stuck. The most you get in DCUO is, like Booster Gold's tour, which you do, and then you get some cheap ring that may or may not be better than the ring you currently have on, and it's not very good. As it is, the ring doesn't get you very much money, you don't get a lot of experience, and that's really part of the pain. You can do all these side missions in DCUO, and it doesn't get you very far. You do the side missions in the Arkham series, you get points to upgrade your car, or your gadgets, or your costume. Oh yeah, I think I blew out the walls to this. Yeah, I think there were like fragile walls there, and I blew them out because I had to, for like some kind of credit or something, I don't know. It was just one of those things you have to do. They want you to play a certain way. It's annoying, actually. Just like you have to get over to a certain phone, and then you have to trace the call, and you have to get so much of Zaz talking about all this crap. And who would want to sit there and listen to some rando talk at length about random crap that filled his head? I know. Neither would I. Anyway. But, you know, a lot of these streams are just me chilling out and relaxing. So you're basically getting the experience of, if we were sitting there and you basically were mute, I would much rather enjoy conversation with you as a person. But we don't get to have that luxury right now. Not during COVID, and most of the time, not at all. But, you know, it is a fun way to pass the time. So at least now it can kind of feel like maybe you're sitting there with somebody if you're feeling a bit lonely. But as it is, I didn't want to do another Let's Play of Arkham Knight because I'm at a point in the New Game Plus where I got so badly stuck. And I remember having to replay that one so often, and it was basically the exact same thing as Arkham City, where I got stuck by a challenge midway through the game, almost near the end, where I had to, you know, play against a bunch of enemies who wailed on me. Whether it's goons in a subway or tanks outside of the church, while Ivy tries to help fight them off. And it's actually the middle of January right now, so seeing all that snow is basically what we're doing right now. There isn't snow on the ground right now. Everything's just kind of brown and chilly and dry. But, it's one of those things. You have to... Oh my god, there's a teddy bear on top of the teddy bear. I'm gonna aim for the teddy. Nope, got the bird. They even give you different sounds when you're walking and different surfaces. So, like, walking on roof slate. Walking on an asphalt roof covered in snow partially. Walking on chain link. They actually had a Foley artist in a sound booth shaking chain link in order to get this noise. Possibly even walking on it. That's not something you think about, but it's in the sound design. They've actually got the sound of tiles there. The sound of walking on sheet metal. Just for Batman's footsteps. They didn't have to put in any footsteps. They didn't have to put in anything like that. Just the sound design alone. You got foot on brick there. Just a generic footstep. A little bit of a change in pitch there. Those steps are supposed to be wooden, so you have the wood footstep. I mean, this is just a whole other level. DCUO, no footsteps at all. You can't even hear them. That's what I mean by just a different level of detail. Just a, I almost wish that Rocksteady had bothered to design DCUO, but instead they got Daybreak to do it. Generic footstep there because it's just a generic hard surface. Let's see about the ice. A little bit of a change in pitch there. A little bit more like it's a solid crystalline kind of thing. Foghorn. Random crows, wind. One of the reasons why this game is better is because of the sound design. They take that step. So you hear everything. I mean, just... And then the sound changes in Detective mode. Unbelievable. A little bit of sound of walking on snow. Flapping. I mean, people don't think about this, but sound design is incredibly important for immersing someone in the experience. Walking on roof tiles again. Does the sound change here? Yes. Suddenly the ambient noise is gone. Because the wind isn't howling as much in this space. Okay, yeah. I was wondering if you crouch in silence like that, does it make less noise than if you are, not? If you're just standing and walking. And yes, you get a little bit more noise from Batman's boots. That's fascinating. And it's just such a different game as a result. It's better. And given, you've got different aspects to look at. You got the buoys making a little racket. But yeah. For me, this is really the best one of the lot, and I know a lot of people agree about that. So yeah, this is where I'm coming from with all this. It really is just a much more fun game. You have way more variety in gameplay. You don't have to deal with an awkward tank. Oh my god. Even if you have to deal with like brawls that are really difficult to beat, if you're in basic mode and you play through some of the Riddler's Revenge stuff with some of the brawl challenge maps, you can eventually beat that one. So it's not an unbeatable game. And once you pay the original price, that's it. You own it. You can play as much as you want. They could totally structure the MMORPG to work like that. Personal opinion. They could put ads in the game, like for the recent Wonder Woman movie. Were there any promos for that? I don't think so. I was playing the game in December as the movie came out, and nothing to promote Wonder Woman 84. I mean, good God. Yeah. So they aren't thinking about their big franchises or anything. They're just, it's a totally different structure to a game. Oh well. Well, I think that is going to wrap everything up, you guys. I want to thank you for clicking over and listening to all my inane rambling. Look for more structured content soon. I am working on that. I hope you guys enjoyed the Christmas tree riff that I did. I tried to make sure the audio was well balanced on that, make sure that I had plenty of funny stuff to say, or insightful stuff about the game, or about the movie rather. It's a short Christmas special as it is. I will be looking to do some other stuff in the future that'll be a little bit more exciting, a little bit more fun, maybe a bit more goofy. But we'll see. There will be more read aloud content soon. I am planning on that after taking a break from it, just because that time that I was doing all of the Resident Evil stuff and the start of the black hole, I had such a raw voice from a cold that I was suffering, and there were points where I was having to pause recording and have these terrible hacking coughs and gargle in between during the recording, and that's just how rough I was. As it is now, I don't cough nearly as often as you can tell from this recording. I have an occasional cough that I need to do. But it's a little bit easier with the Audacity way that I record, just pausing if I feel like I have a tickle or need to gargle or something. That ends up being a lot better off for the quality of the recording that you get. And of course I do different things, like you can hear me now and I sound different from when I do the Audacity record, because I do minor alterations on that to make it a little bit more smooth sounding, a little bit better. So I do try to put a lot of good effort into the stuff I put out. This non-structured stuff is obviously not structured, not as planned out. It's just a stream. It's just me on a mic with headphones and playing a game. I don't find it to be as rewarding, and I'm sure you don't find it to be as entertaining, because I'm just goofing around in Arkham City or playing through Arkham Knight, and nothing really to write home about there. You've seen a dozen streams like that. So this is just me getting a chance to talk to you, the viewer, with some updates about this and that. I was going to do more reviews and riffs and videos for Christmas, and before that I was going to do stuff for Halloween, but Halloween came and went, and I didn't have like things really. I hadn't really worked on a lot of stuff in terms of just about everything. I was gonna like do a riff of some cheesy old cartoons that, you know, wouldn't get me in as much trouble with the copyright bots, which is the big problem. Copyright is something I've run into for the past 5 years whenever I've tried to use a clip or something. Actually, going further back than that, about 7 years, I think, was the first time I started using clips in videos. And even before that, if I was using like music or an animated GIF, heck, I got in trouble for copyright using a still promotional image from a movie I was discussing, where it was like a 5-minute discussion of Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. It had 2 titles. And I was just like, you're kidding me, right? So I actually disputed the copyright and won, because there was a copyright claim on that. And they were like claiming I was using footage or something like that. And it was like, no, I'm not. I'm using a still promotional image in discussing the thing. You know, I'm not even using the trailer. And yeah, it was just super frustrating. So I try not to do too much copywritten material, and there are little tricks that I'm still getting the hang of in editing when I use my editing software, to try and get like a version like what I did with the Christmas tree. But I used so much of that content that it wound up getting me a copyright thing, because I was basically using the entire special instead of skipping over portions or something, or having sections where I interrupted it and did something else. So if I'm going to do any more holiday themed content or reviews that involve that stuff, I'm going to have to obviously insert more stuff. That was where the first 10 redo was supposed to come in, where I was re-editing the film's first 10 minutes and then coming in and doing my commentary on what I did and what I would do further with the film to remake it a little bit. That ended up getting so many copyright strikes. It didn't get my channel blocked, but then you don't get as much promotion unless you have sponsorship and all this other crap. So isn't YouTube fun, kiddos? Anyway, yeah, so it's a pain in the butt using YouTube as a platform, but I do try and use other resources like Vimeo and Facebook and even Twitch, but that only gets you so far, unfortunately, because Twitch, I think, got bought by Amazon, so it's a whole thing. So we're all doing our best here on YouTube for the creators to try and create something worthwhile. As it is, I'm going to be trying to do some more of the long-form content written in advance in a podcast series that I'm going to be getting loaded up on Anchor to the different services. And I'm going to be calling the general podcast the Bowler Brim podcast, and then there's going to be special topics that I'm going to try and do. And I'm going to see about trying to make it weekly. It's going to be difficult because there's a lot of different areas to cover that I've wanted to cover for a long time, and doing it only in the audio format, I can do like audio clips and do a lot of different things that I couldn't otherwise do in the video format without getting copyright strikes. This way I can do a lot more content. I can feature an audio only clip, and it'll hopefully do a lot better. That said, as I always say, thanks for clicking over, and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.